criticați atât de des, a adus o creștere economică de 7%, a crescut nivelul de trai al românilor și de aceea românii îl iubesc. Nu vă face cinste să aduceți lupta politică internă în Parlamentul European. Este o lipsă de respect față de poporul român. Nu am să pot să răspund la toată lumea, ar fi foarte mult timp, dar vreau să mai dau câteva răspunsuri. Da, România este divizată, iar eu vreau ca România să fie unită, dar trebuie să avem grijă de un lucru și vă spune o țară pro-europeană, vrem și o Europă divizată? Da, avem dialog, dar să nu încercăm, indiferent de grupul politic, să ne învrăjbim unii pe alții. Împreună trebuie să desenăm, să creionăm viitorul Uniunii Europene, începând cu anul viitor. Haideți să vedem lucrurile care le unesc și să lăsăm la o parte lucrurile care ne divizează. Ceea ce avem de îndreptat, vom îndrepta, vom avea dialog, sunt dispusă dialogului. Domnul Corrao, reforma în ceea ce privește justiția, legile justiției, este inițiată în Parlament. Parlamentul este cel ales în mod democratic, este expresia voinței poporului. Vedeți că și aici există dezinformare, pentru că au arătat cu degetul spre guvern. Nu, în Parlament au fost inițiate aceste legi. Domnul Rebega, nu aduceți lupta politică în Parlamentul European. Nu este corect față de români. Poate ar trebui să vă gândiți că ați candidat pe listele Partidului Social Democrat, dar nu vă judec eu, pentru că nu am dreptul. Vă vor judeca cei care v-au susținut și pe care acum i-ați dezamăgit. Doamna in 't Veld, mulțumesc mult pentru sugestii. Am să țin cont de sugestiile dumneavoastră. Parlamentul European nu este inamicul meu. Am fost europarlamentar 9 ani de zile și nu o să mă abat niciodată de la valorile europene. Poate nu toate lucrurile sunt corecte, poate nu toate lucrurile sunt așa cum trebuie să fie, dar sunt convinsă că un dialog constructiv și faptul că puteți să ascultați toate părțile și vom ține mai puțin cont de cei care nu vor ca să fie înțelegere și dialog în Parlamentul European, cei care vin cu dezinformări, cei care au dezinformat întotdeauna, nu numai acum, cred că lucrurile se pot îndrepta. Domnule prim vicepreședinte Timmermans, cu siguranță vom ține cont de recomandările Comisiei de la Veneția. Azi, ministrul Justiției, prezent lângă mine, va merge la Comisia de la Veneția. România este o țară pro-europeană și cu siguranță nu se va abate de la drumul pro-european. Și vă spune o fostă colegă de-a dumneavoastră, vă rog să aveți încredere în România și să aveți încredere în parcursul european și în respectarea statului de drept în țara mea. Vă mulțumesc!
Vielen Dank, Frau Premierministerin. Es spricht nun im Namen der Kommission Herr Kommissar Timmermans.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Throughout my professional and political life over the last 30 years, I was a witness, a very close witness, of everything that happened in Romania. And I remember vividly that 30 years ago, working on the issue, I saw that the Romanian people inherited a thoroughly corrupt system. It was not just corrupt because of the corruption, it was morally corrupt. The nation had been under the direction of a morally deeply corrupt dictator and his system. If you take that into account 30 years ago, and then see where Romania is today, huge progress was made, apart from the party political composition of the government. But in those decades, huge progress was made. And why am I so worried today? Because in the final stretch of this long and painful marathon, we risk now of not going to the finishing line, so that the fight against corruption cannot be reversed, so that the rule of law is irreversible, and that we go in the other direction, which would undo some of the most important achievements by the Romanian people to rid themselves of this horrible, horrible past. Someone who comes from a country like mine cannot even begin to imagine how difficult this must have been for the Romanian people. So if we now speak out, speak up, it is because we do it for the Romanian people who want to fulfill their European destiny, by being sure that the system they live in, the country they live in, is a democracy based on the rule of law with full respect of human rights, where corruption is combated effectively and rooted out of society. I want to remind members of this House who have not made reference to the CVM report that yes, indeed, the recommendations of the Venice Commission are important and we will work on them, but please also look at the recommendations made in the Commission CVM report of last year and the recommendations we will be making in the CVM report next month. I think they are a good roadmap to make sure that reform is irreversible. I will continue the dialogue with the Romanian government. I could not, because of time, be very precise in every question and critique we have of the proposed laws, already promulgated laws, but I will be very meticulous and precise in putting my questions to the Romanian government and an offer to them to answer those questions and to continue the dialogue so that we can resolve these issues. But let me be very clear. What is at stake is of huge importance for the future of our European Union. But what is at stake is of even greater importance for the future of the Romanian people. So if the Commission needs to be brutal in our assessment, we will be. If we need to use other instruments at our disposal, we will use them. This is not a threat. This is just a Commission laying out where our role is and that we are the guardian of the treaty, and we need to take this role very seriously indeed. And if I can make a political remark, sometimes I have the impression, to put it in the words of the immortal Yogi Berra, it's déjà vu all over again. When you critique someone, when you have your criticism, two things always emerge. Double standards, it's sort of a knee-jerk reaction. And the second is, it's not an attack on the government, it's an attack on the nation or on the people. I hope I have made clear today that we have made a clinical assessment of the situation, that we analysed precisely the proposed changes in the legislation, that we do this on behalf of the Romanian people, not against the Romanian people, and that we look at each member state in exactly the same way, looking at the facts, but also recognising that every situation is different, and we're not putting member states in one batch. We're looking at every member state on the basis of the specific issues in that member state. And I really want us to be successful here, and I urge the Romanian government, once again, keep the dialogue open and listen to our recommendations. They are put on paper in the spirit of cooperation, in the spirit of keeping Romania on the right European track. Thank you very much.
Vielen Dank, Herr Kommissar Timmermans. Zum Abschluss der Debatte nunmehr Frau Ministerin Bogner-Strauß im Namen des Rates.
Thank you, Mr. President. The emotionality of this discussion clearly showed how important this issue is. I also want to thank Commissioner Timmermans, because the first Vice President made the situation and the necessity for a dialogue very clear. Let me assure you once again that the Austrian presidency and the Council as a whole attaches great importance to upholding the rule of law and fundamental values within the European Union. I speak as Presidency of the Council and therefore in the name of all of its member states. The Council will continue to follow this issue closely, and the Presidency will pay particular attention to the views which were expressed during the dialogue and during this debate. Thank you.
Vielen Dank, Frau Ministerin Bogner-Strauß. Die Aussprache ist damit geschlossen. Die Abstimmung findet während der November-I-Tagung statt.
All'ordine del giorno ricorre la discussione con il primo ministro dell'Estonia, Jüri Ratas, sul futuro dell'Europa. Io ringrazio il primo ministro dell'Estonia per aver accettato il nostro invito a partecipare al dibattito sul futuro dell'Europa. Noi stiamo ascoltando tutti i primi ministri, ma voglio ringraziare in modo particolare Jüri Ratas per aver sempre durante la presidenza estone dato grande rilievo alla posizione del Parlamento. Non c'è stata riunione del Consiglio, anche informale, alla quale io non sia stato invitato e non abbia avuto un ruolo preminente. Per questo lo ringrazio e può contare certamente in questa direzione sul sostegno di un Parlamento che vuole anche avere il potere di iniziativa legislativa. Signor Primo Ministro, ha la parola. Benvenuto ancora una volta nell'Aula di Strasburgo. Colgo l'occasione per salutare anche il Ministro degli Esteri irlandese Ellen McEntee, che è presente in quest'Aula.
Mr. President, Vice President of the Commission, distinguished leaders of the political groups and members of the European Parliament. Europe is a thought that needs to become a feeling. I am honoured to be back in this great house. I would like to thank Antonio for organising the debates of the future of Europe and for the opportunity to participate. Today we can all together congratulate our German friends and all Europeans on the occasion of the German Unification Day. For my generation, this day symbolises not only the end of division of Germany, but it also heralded the liberation of Eastern Europe and the start of eastward enlargement of the European Union. It made possible the starting of accession talks 20 years ago. It has been an amazing journey for our country, for Estonia. The role of the European Parliament in it has been remarkable. I would like to thank you, honourable members of the European Parliament, for your support. This year, Estonia celebrates the 100 years anniversary of our statehood. Like Germans in the east of the country, we had to wait and dream. For 50 years about freedom, rule of law and justice. I very clearly remember watching Finnish TV, as this was our only connection to the free world. This is why I, from the bottom of my heart, dislike borders in Europe. Though still existing for member states who have fulfilled all criteria to join Schengen. Those that have been partly reintroduced following the migration crisis, although I understand the concerns back then and those that still may be erect should we, which I refuse to accept, collectively fail in Brexit negotiations. Against this background, it is not hard to understand why Estonians have such a special emotional connection to Europe. I can only agree with the Irish singer Bono that Europe is not only an idea, but also a feeling and a destiny. Because our, and I quote, values and aspirations make Europe so much more than just the geography. They go to the core of who we are as human beings and who we want to be. Ladies and gentlemen, compared to its sphere of territory and population in the world, Europe is small and diverse. But by sharing our sovereignty and pooling our strength, by having common policies, we have been able to make a difference in the world. I believe that we all have shared interests in rule-based and effective multilateral order, built on liberal values and democratic principles. We have common interest also in open, free and fair global markets. It is what the world expects from us, and it is what our citizens want. Because it is Europe that protects our values and freedoms against the turbulence of today's world. Europe's geographical ties and our global interdependence as the world's largest trade dictate that it is vital to have a world that functions. We Europeans are all stronger together, and I hope we will spare no efforts in securing our collective interests and the values in the world. Europe's core strength, it is diversity. Being European adds a rich layer to one's identity. Nothing represents this better than the fate of small nations in the European family. I would like to paraphrase former Estonian President Lennart Meri, who once said that small nations in Europe are the glue, the oil and the cement in the European construction. Therefore, allow me to express here modest enthusiasm when it comes to grand institutional designs in Europe, which could lead to a lesser role of smaller nations. In our common institutions, less diversity will also result in less Europe. Honourable members of the Parliament, ladies and gentlemen, today in this limited time frame, please allow me to focus on only some areas essential for Europe according to Estonia. First, preserving unity with the EU. The key for our common future is our ability to keep the EU united and more forward with the EU's positive agenda. There is a saying that the best way to predict the future is to create it. Future is not something abstract or another treaty change. We are building our future every day. We are doing this by providing answers to concrete concerns of our citizens. And we are building connections that bring Europeans closer together, human, physical and professional connections. Europeans also expect us to tackle transformational challenges that are too big for a single member state, such as Europe defence, climate change and digital transformation. We will also have to find answers to global population growth and migration triggered by these changes. I therefore hope for an ambitious multiannual financial framework that reflects these challenges. New multiannual financial framework is actually the best indicator of how we will see our common future. I agree with President Macron that the European Union depends on the feeling of unity. But as we know, unity does not have to mean uniformity. Sometimes we should simply recognise our different views without compromising on the same values. I find different levels of direct taxes in member states perfectly normal. I also feel that with a European budget of the size of only 1% of GNI, fundamental decisions of restrictive nature can be made at national or even local level through social dialogue. At the same time, we must have a credible framework vital for our common future, like the spending 2% of our GDP to keep Europe safe, or aiming at an expenditure level of 3% of GDP on research and innovation. Also, we expect Europe to be big in big things, but at the same time, it has to be excellent in details. Without standards and fine details, the single market of capital markets union would simply not function. Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, we are now trying to find consensus when declining on the core elements on how to manage migration. It is difficult, but we all realise that short-term measures will only bring short-term solutions. All of us need to show solidarity in the way that suits best our common purpose and each member state's particularities. The key in decreasing irregular migration is to work with third countries. We must use all the instruments that our trade, visa and development policies offer. New Africa-EU alliance proposed by President Juncker to support jobs, skills and private investments in Africa definitely serves long-term effects. Estonia pulls its weight here. Last November, I signed an e-government cooperation agreement between Estonia and the African Union. Estonia is geographically distant from Africa, but the digital world does not recognise distance. Secondly, it is important to maintain and strengthen the EU's influence in the global economy. I cannot imagine a better example than the single market to prove that we are bigger and we are stronger together, but it still remains unfinished. Take, for example, the field of services. While the sector continues to grow unlike anything else, especially in the digital domain, we are far from using its full cross-border potential. For example, public services remain essentially national. My good colleague Mark Rutte called the services market the elephant in the room when standing in front of you here in June. I understand him well, and I always worry when talking about making of the single market our economic engine become a taboo. It is high time that we set ourselves new goals in building the single market. Honourable ladies and gentlemen, success in creating effective artificial intelligence could be the biggest event in the history of our civilization, or the worst. We just don't know. A famous quote by Stephen Hawking: in the field of artificial intelligence, the race is definitely on. Everybody is keen on exploring and developing strategies and reaping the benefits, while we are still struggling to make it work. Up on entering from the age of intervention into the age of implementation of AI, Europe has to reinforce our values and lead technological change in public and in private sector. We need to progress in the areas of free movement of data, the data economy and artificial intelligence. In the world of hybrid warfare, cybercrime and fake news, security in cyberspace should come by design and go hand in hand with emerging technologies. We need to build data integrity into systems to be able to guarantee that the sensors, inputs and computing of the robotic system are not compromised. We need to develop strong digital identities in order to be able to distinguish real persons from fake, unfriendly bots. We need to establish practice with a strong professional spirit on keeping AI open and transparent. I am very pleased with the Commission proposal resulting from the Thailand Digital Summit last year, especially our commitment to invest into technological and social readiness throughout the new budget. It is time to adopt proposals to complete the digital single market and enable digital transformation. The world will not wait. Thirdly, it is important to maintain and enhance internal and external security. All Eurobarometer surveys have shown that our people are most concerned about security. Our long-term focus should be on prevention of crime and illegal activities at our borders. High level of border and customs surveillance ensures security throughout Europe. Common standards and investments into both technical and operational features in border surveillance are required. Only then can we realistically assess what to expect from the 10,000 European border guards that Jean-Claude has proposed. Also, effective control of people and goods at our external borders demands reliable databases that can communicate with each other. We do not need to collect the same data into different information systems. We just have to make them able to share the information. Interoperability of EU-wide database by 2020 is the only way forward. We must also explore how to develop better synergies between the internal security, border control and customs information system. And it is the same that also Romania and Bulgaria would benefit from membership in the Schengen area. Honourable members of the European Parliament, the call for European nations to show that they take their security seriously has been around for a long time, and clearly it will not go away. This is not merely a question about maintaining or increasing our military capabilities. This is ultimately a question about how serious Europe is over its role in its immediate neighbourhood and in the world in general. How serious are we about our transatlantic partnership with the United States? Europe that protects has to maintain a strong relationship with our global partners. In addition to the European defence cooperation, it is inevitable to preserve the transatlantic unity. Europe cannot deal with the global security risks alone. For the European Union, this means going beyond its current role as a regulatory superpower and start supporting the developments as well as development of more traditional instruments of foreign and security policy. Therefore, an increased defence cooperation among the EU member states is very welcome. This will lead to increased defence spending and a large number of commonly usable capabilities. At the same time, NATO will remain the bedrock of collective defence in Europe, and our aim should be a mutual reinforcing relationship between the EU and NATO. Mr. President, the final point I would like to make: we need to strengthen the European feeling and fight populism. We are working hard in the EU to make our citizens feel well. However, in a recent youth forum in Estonia, students said that even their teachers were not able to explain the European Union. Upcoming European Parliament elections give us politicians perfect opportunity to explain our decisions. The European Union has brought so many opportunities that people nowadays seem to take for granted. We have to speak about the benefits of the single market and single currency to our businesses, about free movement to our people, about Erasmus for our students. I very much appreciate the structured dialogues on the future of Europe initiated by the French President Emmanuel Macron, the President of the European Commission Jean-Claude Juncker, and the President of this great House, Mr. Antonio Tajani. Working for a better Europe that benefits citizens is a daily work. This also includes taking responsibility for the decisions and compromises made in the EU and showing very clearly that we own these decisions. The actions taken after the Bratislava and Rome summits already seem to have positive results and enjoy support by the people. More than 2/3 of EU citizens feel that the EU membership has been beneficial to their country, the best results since 1983. To summarise, external pressure and crisis have always pushed the EU forward and motivated member states and institutions to cooperate. Our common response to the Russian aggression against Ukraine, to the Bataclan terrorist attack, or if we will, to the Eurozone crisis, is an example of solidarity and example of common values. The European Union as a community of values and, of course, shared interests has to have the means to stand up for the respect of individual freedoms and fundamental rights, for multilateral and rule-based order to tackle the challenges to our security, to our peace and well-being. I believe that our citizens understand this while we engage in the negotiations over the next multiannual financial framework. The fundamentals of the European Union are constantly disputed by the people, by the member states, and also by third states. Our union is therefore politically fragile. This means that we need a self-confident, reassuring union that protects its citizens and its members. We also need citizens and member states that are passionate about the union and everything it stands for as a family of peoples and states. And there must be more of us. I really hope that in 10 years from now, I can listen to a colleague from any of the current candidate countries in the same row that I am standing here today. Now I would like to conclude in my mother tongue, Estonian. It means you need your microphones. Kallid parlamendi liikmed, ma tahan teid tänada selle eest, et Euroopa olevik ja Euroopa tulevik ei jäta teid kedagi ükskõikseks. Alles täna siin, seistes teie ees, ma mõistan täielikult, milline privileeg ning vastutus oli Eestil ja minul eelmisel aastal, kui oli meil au ja võimalus juhtida Euroopa Liidu Nõukogu tööd. Eesti kirjanik Anton Hansen Tammsaare on öelnud, et tööd tehes kasvab armastus. Nii see on. Euroopa oli, Euroopa on ja Euroopa jääb minu südamesse. Ma tänan teid.
Grazie signor Primo Ministro. Prima di dare la parola alla Commissione, vi chiedo se tutti coloro che sono interessati a registrarsi per il Catch the Eye lo hanno fatto. Siete ancora in tempo, stiamo per chiudere ora il sistema. Se qualcuno si vuole registrare lo può ancora fare. Bisogna registrarsi con la carta di voto. Bene, allora possiamo chiudere il sistema elettronico. Do ora la parola alla Commissione europea ad Andreas Ansip.
Austatud president Antonio Tajani, austatud peaminister Jüri Ratas, austatud Euroopa Parlamendi liikmed, head külalised, daamid ja härrad. Ma kõnelen täna Euroopa Komisjoni presidendi Jean-Claude Junckeri nimel. Ma loodan, et te mõistate, kui ma ei kõneleks president Junckeri nimel, siis ma oleks kiitusega Eesti aadressil märksa mõõdukam. Aga ma kõnelen president Jean-Claude Junckeri nimel. Speaking on behalf of President Juncker, let me start by thanking the Prime Minister for taking part in this debate and for his vision on the future of our Union. As you know, this is a special year for Estonia. In February, we marked 100 years since independence. Today, Estonia is a modern country flourishing at the heart of Europe. It may be one of the smaller member states, but it is an example for others to follow. Estonia always fights to take its rightful place at the heart of our European Union, whether Schengen, the euro or on defence. It always seeks compromise and works for unity. We saw this repeatedly during the first ever Estonian EU presidency last year. All of this shows that Estonia will continue to be a leader in the European Union in the future. Nowhere is this more important than when it comes to making our people safe. Defence and security are not abstract terms for Estonians. They are a daily and visible preoccupation. This is why we have invested so much into the EU's partnership with NATO, which remains the cornerstone of our defence. Estonia knows firsthand the true value of this partnership. As I speak, Estonian troops are in Afghanistan, Mali, Kosovo, Lebanon and other countries, while the presence of NATO forces in Estonia continues to give us peace of mind. Estonia is also leading the way through its participation in permanent structured cooperation. Its planned project with Finland, Latvia and others to develop unmanned land systems is a perfect example of how we can achieve more by working together and how we can bring digital solutions to be battlefields to save lives. And we need to back this up with the resources to match. As part of our proposals for a new long-term European budget, we have designated €13 billion for the European Defence Fund. I know we can rely on Estonia's full support for these proposals. All of our proposals for the new multiannual financial framework focus on areas where we can achieve more together to build a stronger Europe. We have seen the potential of targeted investments. Rail Baltica is a good example. This project connects Europeans and creates new opportunities for people and businesses from Helsinki to Tallinn, through Riga and Vilnius, and eventually to Warsaw. This is the largest infrastructure project in the Baltics. €5 billion invested into the region. These projects cannot happen overnight or within one financial period. In that spirit, we have proposed to increase the funding for the Connecting Europe facility by 24% to focus on transport, digital and energy infrastructure. This will allow major projects to become a reality, such as the synchronisation of the Baltic countries' electricity systems or the Baltic Connector gas pipeline between Finland and Estonia. The same applies to digital, which is in the DNA of Estonia. It now needs to become part of Europe's too, in digital infrastructure, e-government and digital skills. This is what the EU leaders endorsed at the Tallinn Digital Summit. This is why we are fully focused on building a true digital single market. I rely on the support of this House as well as the Council to agree on the remaining proposals as quickly as possible. We need them urgently to build Europe's digital future. The European Commission has proposed a new Digital Europe programme worth €9 billion to support Europe's digital transformation. This will be especially important when it comes to implementing the Tallinn Declaration on e-government. All of this shows the importance of agreeing on the new long-term budget as quickly as possible. As President Juncker said in this very room only a few weeks ago, there would be no better message, no greater symbol to show Europeans that their union will invest in the future and take its destiny into its own hands. Honourable members, Prime Minister, only a strong and united Europe can protect our citizens, make the most of the new digital world and create new opportunities for its people and businesses alike. But to do so, we will have to work together and work for compromise. We will probably have to do less, be more focused on the things that matter and do things more efficiently. As ever, Estonia is showing the way. The motto for its presidency, unity through balance, shows us the way forward for our European Union. It is time to take it. Thank you.
Passiamo ora agli interventi a nome dei gruppi politici. Il primo è Manfred Weber a nome del gruppo del Partito Popolare.
Welcome, Mr. Prime Minister, to the Future of Europe debate in this House. It's good to have you here because we can be inspired by the history of Estonia and by the strength of its people. And we, as EPP, we are lucky to have one of our compatriots inside of our family. He is only one, but he counts for 10. I want to thank our friend Tune Kelheim, who is with us. He was really fighting firsthand to the Soviet occupation and was not afraid to stand up against the injustice despite all the great risks. And together we achieved a lot. He and all the people in Estonia achieved a lot. A Europe that fights back for what's right, a Europe that is strongly together against all, despite all the odds, and a Europe that sticks to its values. Europe can learn a lot from the Estonian spirit. Estonia is a small, as innovative, as courageous country. There is a Europe which cares about the small member states, or there is no Europe at all. You said it, diversity is the same word for Europe. Estonia was reborn from the ashes. It was one of several victims of nationalism and brutalism. The Hitler-Stalin Pact meant oppression for more than 50 years. And for Estonia, a united Europe means, first of all, freedom and security. And having today Vladimir Putin in mind, Estonia needs a strong Europe. And having on the other side Donald Trump in mind, Estonia also needs a self-confident Europe, which cares about the security. In the same way as Europe sticks to the NATO, we also have to strengthen our defence union. You mentioned this in your speech, and probably it could be a fascinating idea to guarantee in the future the security of the Baltic states with European troops present there. Sadly, Estonia was also one of the first countries to know a brand new type of warfare. It withstood one of the first cyber attacks in 2007 already. Today, Estonia is a leading nation in cybersecurity on European level and also globally. And this can be also a starting point to create in the future a real cyber brigade, which is defending the whole European Union in these modern challenges. I want to focus today on the question of the digital revolution. The new technologies are improving dramatically, and we all see this. And Estonia is really great, has done really a great job. 99% of all the public services are already e-services. And when we have in mind that Estonia has 6 times more startups per citizens than the EU average, then we can really only congratulate what Estonia did in this regard. Estonia's ambitions is really a role model for Europe, and innovation is key, is part of the European DNA. What we have to to organize now is to give a proper answer about what is our share in this digitalization, because it's obvious that the digital revolution, that the US are more the front runner in this digital revolution than we as Europeans are. And that's why we have to consider and have to discuss how can we organize now the next wave to use the opportunity of a next wave in this digital transformation which is ahead of us. Let me underline one important point for us. We don't think that creating legislation on copyright, on data protection, means not creating burden for the innovative sector. For us, it's clear that this is creating the level playing field, is creating the ground for a modern innovation policy. A second important point for us is that we have to take the concerns of the people seriously. When a waiter has the feeling that our iPad is taking over his job and a truck driver has fears from the self-driving vehicles which will be in the future on our streets, then we have to give an answer on a digital social market economy. How we organize this is one of the big challenges ahead of us. And the third thing I want to underline is that we have a gap between advanced regions and those who are still catching up. Improving the digital infrastructure in the European Union is a key issue for keeping Europe together. And that's why I think we must invest in the next EU multi-annual financial framework a lot, especially in the idea of broadband for everyone. Because technology does not shape the people, it's the people who shape technology. Our European way of life has all the ingredients for us to succeed. Firm values, a fair social market economy, creative capacities, lively regions and stable democracies. So that's why we have to start now to build up this digital revolution with an European spirit. And the future of Europe will not only be written through institutional reforms. Investing in innovation and digital infrastructure to ultimately improve European citizens' quality of life is what matters the most. And the EPP Group is ready to stand with all those who want to go in the future. Thank you so much.
Per il gruppo socialista la parola all'onorevole Bullmann.
Tere tulemast, Per Ministre Ratas, I have the pleasure to welcome you on behalf of the Social Democrats here in the House, together with my good friend Ivari Pada in the first row here. And it was a pleasure to listen to you. Let me say that. It was a pleasure to listen to you, and you gave us the impression that Estonia seems to be a great place to live. A great place to live. And we can also congratulate you on the presidency and the big results for Europe that you delivered. Together with your coalition partners, especially with our sister party, the Social Democrats, you achieved a lot in your country. You made already Estonia a fairer society, a better place for its citizens, and we would like to congratulate you on that. We share the same idea that Europe, that our countries have to be locations for the best of the many and not only for the few. We are dreaming and we are working for a Europe that is sustainable in its economy, in its environment and its social structures, where everybody, where every woman and every man, regardless of their income, can count on the support of their public institutions, and where everybody can breathe fresh and clean air. You showed in a small country what can be done, for instance, in public transport. Public transport nearly everywhere for free. I'm dreaming of that in my home country, and I'm dreaming of that everywhere in the European Union. Let's build on your experience and let us try to make that the common experience. You invested in children. You invested in teachers. This is the leading issue for what we have to follow in the European Union. And if you look how much you spent into the well-being of families. Many other countries could copy that. Lassen Sie mich heute am Tag, wo wir in Deutschland den Tag der deutschen Einheit begehen, etwas Nachdenkliches sagen. Wir in Deutschland feiern den Fall der Mauer. Wir in Europa feiern den Fall des Eisernen Vorhangs. Wir haben im Kopf und im Herzen, mit wie viel Freude die Menschen diese Ereignisse begleitet haben und welche Hoffnung auf Freiheit und auf Demokratie damit verbunden waren. Wir müssen uns aber heute Sorgen machen. Wir müssen uns Sorgen machen über neue Mauern, über neue Grenzzäune in der Realität, im Herzen und im Kopf. Grenzen zwischen denen, die denken, dass sie alles erreichen können, und denen, die vergessen sich fühlen und glauben, dass sie nicht mitgenommen werden, die keine Chance haben. Grenzen zwischen denen, die sich wirklich anständig jeden Tag Mühe geben, zum Gemeinwohl beizutragen, und denen, die das schamlos ausnutzen. Grenzen zwischen denen, die völkisch hetzen und nationalistisch intrigieren, und denen, die als Flüchtlinge von Krieg und als Flüchtlinge von Gewalt davon Opfer werden. Lassen Sie mich erinnern an einen großen Franzosen, an François Mitterrand, der 1995 in diesem Parlament gesagt hat: Nationalismus wird zu Krieg, wenn wir dem nicht entgegensteuern. Das ist die Botschaft für Europa, der wir folgen müssen. Und das ist der Auftrag auch für unsere heutige Diskussion. Ich habe Hoffnung, das ist Ihre Erfahrung, das ist das, was Sie mitbringen, wenn Sie aus dem Herzen Ihres Volkes sprechen. Ich habe die Hoffnung, dass Sie uns helfen werden, ein Europa ohne Mauern zu verteidigen, ein Europa ohne neue Grenzzäune, ein Europa des sozialen Zusammenhalts. Nur wenn unsere Gesellschaften sozial zusammenhalten, wird es die Freiheiten geben, die wir uns wünschen, und ein Europa, das Rechtsradikalismus, das Faschismus, das neue Grenzen zurückweist und die Demokratie schützt, auch in Ihren nächsten Wahlen, auch in der nächsten Europawahl. Ich wünsche Ihnen Glück und Erfolg, und ich hoffe, dass dieses Land so blühen kann, wie es angefangen hat zu blühen. Vielen Dank.
Per il gruppo dei conservatori e riformisti europei la parola all'onorevole Lundgren.
Tack så mycket, herr talman, och välkommen hit, premiärminister Ratas. Trevligt att ni tar er tid att besöka oss. Vi har hört många positiva röster om EU-medlemskapet. I det här huset tror vi ju på mångfald, och därför kommer jag att leverera en delvis annorlunda bild av medlemskapet. Jag är svensk, kommer från Sverige. 1994 hade vi våran folkomröstning om medlemskapet, där vi egentligen blev översköljda av ja-sidans kampanj, som hade de ekonomiska musklerna att bedriva en riktig kampanj. Nej-sidan var mer en ideell förening. Vi blev översköljda av allting som skulle vara jättebra med EU. Där fanns inte en röst som pratade om det som skulle vara baksidan av ett medlemskap. Men vi blev medlemmar, och 1995 gick vi med. Och jag röstade faktiskt själv ja den gången. Jag såg klara fördelar med att kunna handla med hela Europa. Vad jag aldrig såg och inte kunde förutse var väl utvecklingen som detta huset i sig själv skulle ta. Där man mer och mer äter upp det nationella självbestämmandet. Vi har bekymmer idag. Vi har en transportnäring som hotas av fuskande företag som opererar i skydd av EU:s regler, och där vi inte själva i Sverige kan kontrollera detta, eftersom EU:s regler per automatik överstiger våra egna regler. Vi har just för stunden har vi en gränskontroll. Annars har vi obefintliga gränskontroller. Vi har inte längre kontroll på vilka människor som finns i vårt land. Vi har i mångt och mycket en okontrollerad immigration. Tack gode Gud att vi aldrig gick med i europrojektet. Alla experter förklarade att om inte Sverige gick med i eurosamarbetet så väntade en katastrof. Och jag tror vi är glada idag, svenska folket, att vi aldrig lyssnade på experterna. För det har ju varit bra för Sverige i mångt och mycket att stå utanför. För Estland har det inneburit en helt annan effekt. För er har det varit väldigt positivt, och Estland är ett väldigt vackert land som jag har besökt flera gånger och som i mångt och mycket också påminner om Sverige till stora delar. Och jag är glad för att ni har så många positiva erfarenheter av medlemskapet. Men som situationen är idag för mitt land, Sverige, i det här samarbetet, så skulle jag vilja omförhandla vårt avtal. Jag skulle vilja omförhandla det precis som jag och alla andra svenskar och européer omförhandlar sina avtal med elleverantören, med banken man har sina huslån i, med alla de institutioner eller föreningar man har ingått medlemskap i, där man inte längre är fullt nöjd med medlemskapet. Men det är väldigt svårt att få till stånd en sådan omförhandling. Och Sverige är ett litet land. Vi har bara 20 medlemmar i huset och 14 röster av 340 i ministerrådet. Men jag skulle önska att man skulle kunna få till stånd en sådan omförhandling. För jag gillar inte tanken på att alla medlemsländer ska vara stöpta i exakt samma form inom Europa. Jag vill ha ett samarbete med våra vänner och grannar, och jag vill att det ska vara under en bibehållen nationell suveränitet. Tack så mycket.
Per il gruppo dell'Alleanza dei Democratici e dei Liberali, la parola all'onorevole Guy Verhofstadt.
Yeah, thank you, President. So, dear Yuri, you have seen there is approval. Everybody praise you and find Estonia fantastic, a magnificent country. And I'm always saying, yeah, that's normal. That's because the liberals are always in power, naturally, in Estonia. You with the Centre Party, and we are even leading the opposition with the Reform Party. So I think that has to do something with the strong position of our two liberal parties, that everything is so good in Estonia. But I don't want to do that. You are better than I aware of it. I want to come to another point. It's the last time that I will come back to this. It is what Mr. Hunt said about the comparison between the European Union and the Soviet Union. You have to know that the two first reactions didn't come from us. No. The two first reactions came from the Lithuanian commissioner and came from the Latvian ambassador, by the way, in the UK. And I think that is not by accident. They explained how Soviets killed, deported, exiled, imprisoned hundreds of thousands of Baltic citizens, especially, also Estonian citizens. And they both explained how, in contrast, the European Union brought their countries prosperity, equality, growth, respect. And I think that both of them gave Mr. Jeremy Hunt a stark lesson in history in 200 characters, so to speak. And that is exactly also, I think, what you have said in your intervention, Yuri, here in the Parliament. That is that the Baltic states, more than anyone else, I should say, in the European Union, need a united Europe, a strong Europe, more united than today and stronger than today. A Europe that is also capable, let's be very clear about this, to stand against Vladimir Putin. Because if we look a little bit to the last decade in the European Union, we have seen a decade of Russian aggression behind us. The list is long, the partial occupation of Georgia, the annexation of Crimea, the war in eastern Ukraine, the shooting down of MH17, the cyber attacks against our institutions, against the German Bundestag even, the money laundering through our banks, the chemical attacks in Salisbury. It's a long list, no? In one decade. So what is next? Next may be to corrupt our ballot boxes in the elections in 2019. And that is, I think, the most important point, that what you have said, Yuri, in your interventions. For the moment, our only response is, in fact, sanctions. And then there are the countermeasures by Putin, and everything goes on and on and on. And I think that will be not enough in the future. And certainly not enough also to defend the sovereignty of all our European countries. I think that we need something more powerful, that is credibility in foreign policy and credibility in our defence policy, in our defence capabilities. A little bit in the words of Theodore Roosevelt, who said, "Speak softly, but carry a big stick." That was his opinion. And we in Europe, for the moment, we do exactly the opposite. We preach loudly on human rights, on democracy, but we carry no stick at all in Europe. Not even a small twig, I should say. So my appeal to you, in your intervention you have done that, is that the first thing what we do when we talk about the future of Europe, that is to stop, to abandon naivety, to our self-imposed weakness, and to show, to build up a position of power. And that means a lot of things. First of all, to abolish the rule of unanimity in the Council, certainly when we talk also about foreign policy. You cannot have a foreign policy if you continue with the unanimity rule. The defence capabilities, let's build them a European defence community. Intelligence services who are incapable and have the instruments, giving also, for example, to Europol a real mandate, and not what it is today, a post box between member states, but to make from it a real federal police force that can conduct investigations on the whole European territory. So, and that's my conclusion, President. Peace to strength, you know this word, peace to strength, that is how the West brought down the Soviet Union in 1991. Well, peace to strength is what our Union needs again today, and thank you, because in your interventions and proposals, you have led us the way. Thank you, Yuri.
Per il gruppo dei Verdi la parola all'onorevole Philippe Lambert.
Dear Prime Minister Ratas, tere tulemast tagasi Europa Parlamenti. It's always a pleasure for us to engage in a dialogue with representatives of the Baltic states. Estonia was the last of the three to complete its first presidency of the Council. Your work, like that of your predecessors, demonstrated not only your strong commitment to our common cause, but also that leadership qualities do not depend on the size of the member state. Nowadays, it has become too commonplace to hear a parallel being drawn between the European Union and the defunct Soviet Union. Even though I was lucky enough not to be born under Soviet rule, these comments are really outrageous to me, but not nearly as much, though, to those who had to endure the occupation by the Red Army. I am thankful to all those that Guy mentioned in Central and Eastern Europe who are fiercely standing up against this malignant propaganda. No European member state is immune against the rise of the logic of us against them and the drift away from pluralist democracy and the rule of law. Estonia is no exception, but we are with you in fighting against the polarization of society and in defending the principles of equality and social inclusion. Before being economic and monetary, our union is one of values, and giving up on them means giving up on the European dream. In that respect, the Council cannot ignore the European Parliament's call to launch Article 7 proceedings, not against Hungary, but against measures taken by the current Hungarian government. Beyond our shared fundamental values, the very idea of the European Union is to build the world's first transnational democracy, one in which we resolve our differences and find common ground through negotiation and compromise rather than through conflict. And yes, Mr. Prime Minister, we have differences with you. We are disappointed that Estonia is still amongst the OECD's most carbon-intensive economies, as it still produces the vast majority of its energy from shale oil, with disastrous results in terms of emissions and toxic waste. At the same time, a significant share of your country's forest resources have already been irresponsibly and unsustainably depleted, most often to get some quick cash. Sadly enough, we see similar developments elsewhere in Europe, like in Białowieża and Hambach in Germany. You also like to highlight the potential of the digital revolution, or transformation, like you call it, for future welfare. And I will agree with you that we should not shy away from innovation. However, we should keep in mind the significant risks this revolution carries in terms of civil liberties or, again, ecological impact. Indeed, far from being dematerialized, the digital universe is hungry for scarce resources whose extraction proves very damaging for the environment. In our view, it is vital, absolutely vital for the European Union to become a world leader in the ecological and socially just transition of our economies. Of course, the fight against climate change demands it, but our jobs, our balance of payment, our strategic independence and our competitiveness depend on it. Giving up on this objective also means giving up on the European dream. Thank you.
Per il gruppo confederale della sinistra unitaria europea sinistra verde nordica la parola all'onorevole Silikiotis.
Ευχαριστώ, Πρόεδρε. Και εγώ, κύριε Πρωθυπουργέ, να σας καλωσορίσω εκ μέρους της Ευρωπαϊκής Ενωτικής Αριστεράς, Βόρειας Πράσινης Αριστεράς. Συζητάμε και πάλι για το μέλλον της Ευρώπης, αλλά δυστυχώς η εκτίμηση παραμένει ίδια. Η κατάσταση στην Ένωση οξύνεται συνεχώς και καθημερινά βαθαίνει η οικονομική, πολιτική και θεσμική κρίση, αυξάνεται δραματικά και το δημοκρατικό έλλειμμα της Ένωσης και δεν χρειάζεται να αεροποιείται αυτή την κατάσταση. Οι νεοφιλελεύθερες πολιτικές λιτότητας που εφαρμόστηκαν, αν και απέτυχαν, συνεχίζουν να προωθούνται και να θεσμοθετούνται με αποτέλεσμα οι λαοί να οδηγούνται στην ανεργία και στη φτωχοποίηση. Αυτή είναι η πραγματικότητα σήμερα και για την Εστονία, που παρά τις επιτυχίες στη ψηφιακή οικονομία σημειώνει ανησυχητικά ποσοστά ψηλής ανεργίας και φτώχειας. Το κοινωνικό κράτος διαλύεται. Οι εργασιακές σχέσεις απορριθμίζονται και οι οικονομικές, κοινωνικές και περιφερειακές ανισότητες στην Ένωση διευρύνονται συνεχώς. Κυριαρχεί πλέον η ασυδοσία της αγοράς και προκειμένου να εξυπηρετηθούν τα συμφέροντα των πολυεθνικών και των μονοπωλίων, στο βωμό του κέρδους καταστρέφεται ανεπανόρθωτα το περιβάλλον και εντείνονται οι κλιματικές αλλαγές. Έπειτα, η προσφυγική κρίση οξύνεται όλο και περισσότερο. Όσο η Ένωση αρνείται να υιοθετήσει μια στρατηγική στηριγμένη στην αλληλεγγύη και τον ανθρωπισμό. Η πρόσφατη απόφαση των ηγετών στο Σάλσμπουργκ δυστυχώς προμηνύει πως θα συνεχίσουν τα ίδια μέτρα καταστολής, η αυξημένη έλεγχη στα εξωτερικά αλλά δυστυχώς και στα εσωτερικά σύνορα και η ενίσχυση της λογικής της Ευρώπης φρούριο. Αυτές οι νεοφιλελεύθερες πολιτικές είναι που λιένουν το έδαφος για την άνοδο της ακροδεξιάς και την υιοθέτηση ρατσιστικής και ξενοφοβικής ρητορικής και πολιτικής από αρκετές κυβερνήσεις κρατών μελών. Εάν η Ένωση συνεχίσει να προωθεί τις ίδιες πολιτικές, οι ακροδεξιές δυνάμεις θα δυναμωθούν ακόμη περισσότερο και ελοχεύουν πολύ μεγάλη κίνδυνη για τους λαούς της Ευρώπης. Η άνοδος της ακροδεξιάς επιχειρεί ένα πισωγύρισμα της Ένωσης στο σκοταδισμό και απειλεί βασικές ελευθερίες, δικαιώματα και κατακτήσεις των λαών. Και λυπούμε να πω ότι είναι σχήμα οξύμερο σήμερα με το κλίμα ανόδου του φασισμού και της ακροδεξιάς να μιλούμε για τη Σοβιετική Ένωση. Οι βίαιες επιθέσεις που σημειώθηκαν ακόμα και ενάντια σε ευρωβουλευτές στο Μπάρι της Ιταλίας, στο Κέμνις της Γερμανίας, αλλά και σε άλλα κράτη από φασιστικές δυνάμεις, αποδεικνύουν πως η ακροδεξιά αποθρασύνεται και επιβάλλεται η άμεση συνεργασία και συμμαχία των προοδευτικών δυνάμεων για την αναχέτησή της. Είναι αδύρυτη η ανάγκη να συσπηρωθούν ευρύτερες δημοκρατικές και προοδευτικές δυνάμεις και όλοι μαζί να αντιπαλέψουμε την ακροδεξιά, τον φασισμό, τον ρατσισμό και την ξενοφοβία. Η κατάσταση δε γίνεται ακόμα πιο επικίνδυνη με τη νέα στροφή της Ένωσης προς τη στρατιωτικοποίηση, την επένδυση στην άμυνα, με το νέο Ευρωπαϊκό Ταμείο και την ενίσχυση στρατιωτικής βιομηχανίας σε συντονισμό με την επιθετικότητα του ΝΑΤΟ. Η στροφή αυτή της Ένωσης στους πολέμους θα είναι η καταστροφή για το μέλλον της Ένωσης. Αγαπητοί Πρωθυπουργέ, αγαπητοί συνάδελφοι, ο κίνδυνος για την Ευρώπη δεν είναι οι πρόσφυγες και οι μετανάστες. Είναι οι πόλεμοι και οι υπεραλιστικές επεμβάσεις τις οποίες στηρίζουν έμπρακτα η Ευρωπαϊκή Ένωση και τα κράτη-μέλη της. Είναι οι αυξανόμενες οικονομικές και κοινωνικές ανισότητες. Είναι ο ρατσισμός και η ξενοφοβία. Για να υπάρξει ελπίδα για το μέλλον των λαών της Ένωσης, πρέπει να ανατραπούν αυτές οι νεοφιλελεύθερες πολιτικές λιτότητας. Χρειάζεται ακόμα πάνω απ' όλα μια δίκαιη αναδιανομή του πλούτου, χρειάζεται στρατηγική ανάπτυξη, δημόσιες επενδύσεις που θα ενδυναμώνουν το κοινωνικό κράτος. Ναι, χρειάζεται η αναβάθμιση της ψηφιακής οικονομίας, αλλά παράλληλα να δημιουργηθούν θέσεις εργασίας αξιοπρεπείς, μόνιμες, ποιοτικές. Έτσι θα δημιουργήσουμε πραγματικά μια Ευρώπη των λαών, της κοινωνικής δικαιοσύνης και της ειρήνης. Ευχαριστώ, Πρόεδρε.
Per il gruppo Europa della Libertà e della Democrazia Diretta, la parola all'onorevole Paksas.
Pone parlamento pirmininke, pone Estijos ministrė pirmininkė, Estija dažnai apdovanojama įvairiais epitetais, kurie dažniausiai išreiškia šalies veržlumą. Vienas iš jų anksčiau dažnai kartotas Baltijos tigras. Tigrų išminties, sumanumo ir ryžto kaip niekad šiandien reikia visai Europos Sąjungai. Gebėjimo laviruoti tarp bendrų Europos Sąjungos ir atskirų nacionalinių valstybių interesų. Sumanumo tariantis su didžiausiamis pasaulio valstybėmis. Ryžto priimant valstybių, kurių politikai ir piliečiai pasisako už suverenumą, tautų Europą, nacionalinės, o ne internacionalinės kultūros prioriteto poziciją kaip tiesioginės demokratijos išraiška. Juolab, kad daugelis iš šių rytų Europos ir Višegrado šalių išgyveno sovietinio federalizmo patirtį ir puikiai supranta, kuo gali tapti globalistų siekis federalizuoti Europą. Dialogas, o ne konfrontacija. Tautų valstybių sąjunga, o ne federalizacija. Ekonomikos augimas, socialinis atskirties mažinimas, o ne išlaidų karo pramoniai didinimas. Santarvė, susitarimo paieškos, bet nesupriešinimas ar susipriešinimas. Tai dalykai, kurie turi tapti kertiniais naujos ES pamato akmenimis. Nejaugi, ministrė pirmininkė, manot, kad turėtų būti kitaip? Tada bendrijos šalise surenkime referendumus dėl ES ateities krypties. Ar žmonės nori stiprinti valstybių savarankiškumą ir nepriklausomybę? Ar nori naujos Europos federacijos be savarankiškų valstybių? Esu įsitikinęs, kad referendumo rezultatas būtų labai nepatogus šiandieninės ES politikos architektams, kurie jos ateitį mato kaip unifikuotą Europos valstybių federaciją. Taip pat aš manau, kad naujos ES ateities mes sulauksime gerokai greičiau negu paskutinio ES valstybės prezidento ar premjero pasisakymo šia tema. Ta ateitis prasidės po Didžiosios Britanijos pasitraukimų kitų metų kovą. Ir netaip jau labai svarbu, ar sutars pusės dėl sąlygų, kuriomis išsiskiria, ar ne. Virsmas yra prasidėjęs. Mes dar turime laiko padaryti taip, kad tai netaptų visos ES griūtimi, eidami konstruktyvaus dialogo, o ne primityvių žaidinėjimų ar asmeniškumų keliu. Dėkui.
Per il gruppo Europa delle Nazioni e della Libertà, la parola all'onorevole De Graaf.
Voorzitter, ik heet de minister-president van Estland, de heer Ratas, van harte welkom in dit parlement om te debatteren over de toekomst van Europa. Estland kent een historie van vrijwel uitsluitend overheersing. Eerst door Duitsland, vervolgens Zweden, daarna Rusland. En na een korte periode van onafhankelijkheid werd Estland vervolgens ingelijfd bij de Sovjet-Unie. Estland weet wat het is om overheerst te worden. En na het einde van de Sovjet-Unie heeft het uit angst voor de Russische buurman aansluiting gezocht bij de NAVO en de EU. In 2004 leek de EU nog een vriendelijk, vriendschappelijk verbond. Maar inmiddels moet er toch bij de bevolking van Estland de schellen van de ogen zijn gevallen. De EU introduceerde afgelopen jaren voorstellen voor een EU-leger, een EU-politiemacht, een EU-openbare aanklager. Voorstellen voor internetcensuur en voor inperking van de vrijheid van meningsuiting. En we horen de heer Verhofstadt zojuist pleiten, hij heeft het pand inmiddels verlaten, voor een EU-KGB. Steeds meer kleinere lidstaten worden vervolgd vanwege hun EU-kritische beleid. Landen die hun bevolking willen beschermen tegen de verwoestende effecten van het opengrenzenbeleid. Herkent u niet, vraag ik meneer Ratas, de contouren van een nieuwe Sovjet-Unie? Waar denkt u dat een EU-leger werkelijk voor nodig is? Niet voor het beschermen van de buitengrenzen, want daar hebben we de NAVO voor. De liberalen in dit huis zijn de grote voorvechters van een EU-leger. En het waren de liberalen die de gewapende pro-EU staatsgreep in de Oekraïne stonden toe te juichen. En straks zijn het de liberalen die de tanks opnieuw Hongarije laten binnenrijden. U dacht dat alle landen vetorecht hadden in de EU. Wat een vergissing. Het is de oorspronkelijk Oost-Duitse communiste Angela Merkel die dicteert en de EU die volgt. Estland heeft in 2004 zijn soevereiniteit ingeleverd door te tekenen bij het kruisje. En u dacht dat de dreiging uit het oosten kwam. Nee, de dreiging komt uit het westen. De agressieve Oostpolitiek van de EU is een terugkeer naar een oude Duitse doelstelling. U zou dat toch moeten herkennen? En daarom raad ik de heer Ratas aan aansluiting te zoeken bij de Visegrad 4, bij het Hongarije van Viktor Orbán, dat net als Estland diep gebukt is gegaan onder communistische overheersing, bij het Italië van Matteo Salvini en het Oostenrijk van Heinz Christian Strache. Want daar zijn de schellen inmiddels van de ogen gevallen. En u denkt wellicht nog dat een liberale democratie staat voor een democratie waarin de vrijheden gelden die ooit zo treffend zijn verwoord in de Déclaration des droits de l'homme et du citoyen. Nee, meneer Ratas, liberaal is hier in dit huis slechts een ander woord voor communistisch. En wanneer in dit parlement gesproken wordt over liberale democratie, dan bedoelt men de socialistische heilstaat. Dan bedoelt men een nieuw Sovjet-imperium. En dat wil ik u in dit debat meegeven, minister-president Ratas, opdat u Estland kunt leiden op de weg naar echte vrijheid en echte soevereiniteit.
La parola all'onorevole Ujazdowski, non iscritto.
Panie przewodniczący, koleżanki i koledzy! Ja chcę przede wszystkim wyrazić uznanie dla narodu estońskiego, który w sposób szczególny, tak jak wiele narodów ujarzmionych przez Związek Radziecki, objawił pragnienie wolności, wolę życia, wolę niezależności, narodu szczególnie inteligentnego i mądrego. Mogę przyłączyć się do tych pochwał w stosunku do przemówienia pana premiera. Przede wszystkim dlatego, iż to przemówienie wyraża motywy istotne dla przyszłości Europy. Tak? Ja uważam, że pan premier zaprezentował proeuropejski pragmatyzm, a nie proeuropejski centralizm, bo proeuropejski pragmatyzm jest chyba najbardziej zasadną odpowiedzią na wyzwania naszych krajów i Unii Europejskiej jako całości. To jest stawka na bezpieczeństwo Europejczyków, to jest stawka na wzmocnioną współpracę w zakresie polityki obronnej, ale jednocześnie kooperację z Paktem Północnoatlantyckim. Mogę podpisać się bardzo jednoznacznie pod tymi poglądami. Jednocześnie pan premier wyraził sceptycyzm wobec tego, co prezentuje często na tej sali pan przewodniczący Verhofstadt. Sceptycyzm wobec centralizmu unijnego, wobec takich reform, które postawią kraje mniejsze w gorszej pozycji. Bazą solidarności europejskiej jest partnerstwo, jest poszanowanie wszystkich, poszanowanie mniejszych krajów Unii Europejskiej. Absolutnie podzielam obawy przed formalnymi reformami, przed nową formą rewizji traktatów, która by mogła skutkować tym niebezpieczeństwem pomniejszenia europejskiego partnerstwa, europejskiej solidarności, pomniejszenia pozycji krajów mniejszych. I wreszcie jeszcze jeden element bardzo istotny, to jest stawka na konkurencyjny rynek, na otwarty, konkurencyjny rynek, na liberalizację usług. I trzeba powiedzieć, że nie tylko populizm, o którym pan premier mówił, jest siłą ograniczającą konkurencję gospodarczą w Europie. Protekcjonizm jest czymś znacznie szerszym. On jest obecny także w politykach unijnych partii głównego nurtu. Bardzo się cieszę, że pan premier postawił na ten motyw, na konkurencyjny rynek, który da siłę gospodarce europejskiej. Dziękuję bardzo.
Ora Tas può rispondere alle prime domande, poi ci sarà il catch the eye e poi le risposte alle domande che avverranno dal catch the eye sempre da parte del primo ministro Ratas. Primo ministro ha la parola.
Dear Honourable President, dear Vice President of Commission and dear leaders of the political groups, first I would like to thank you for your kind comments to Estonia and also to our members of European Parliament. And it is important that we have diverse views, even if I cannot agree with some. As I said, diversity of views is important, but so is our ability to provide answers, solutions, and most importantly, make compromises. Now I would like to just react some your comments and your aspects. First of all, what said Vice President of Commission, Mr. Ansip, thank you, the kind words to our country and also our best wishes to you and also the President of Commission, Mr. Juncker. Yes, that's true that for us it is so important to have the good connections with the centre of Europe, and connectivity is one of our priority. And if I am talking a little bit larger scale, I mean also including the Baltic countries and also the Nordic ones. That's true that one of our targets will be to synchronise our energy market to the centre of Europe. And of course, what was this kind of cornerstone during our presidency, one goal, I mean the digitalisation, is still one of our most important aspects if we are talking the unity and if we are talking to good cooperation between the member states. Our slogan was during our presidency unity through balance, and I think it is so important today as well find a better cooperation in, for example, in digital sphere. If we are talking to cooperation across the borders, if we are talking the concrete benefits for our citizens, for our businesses, to do it different member states, I think we must go forward and find a solution. One very concrete wish is the free movement of data. I agree the leaders who are mentioned artificial intelligence or also the self-driving cars. But yes, that's true that in Estonia we have a lot of different e-services, more than 2,500. But I think our goal must be also to be very good and active if we are talking the private sector. It means the fourth industrial revolution. During our presidency, we are really happy that today we have a much more closer cooperation if we are talking the defence and security, for example, the PESCO. Then I would like to say all this kind of digital world or digital society, this kind of first step must be always the cyber security, and that's true that more than 10 years ago we had very serious cyber attacks, but now we have a lot more skills and much more better cooperation. Some words about what said Mr. Pullman. I am 100% agree about this sustainable development. I think here is so important to find the balance between the environment, between the economy and between the social sphere. Thank you, Guy, for your very nice and good words to Estonia and also the Baltic states. I agree with you 100% that this united Europe is for us 100% important, and I agree with that. Now some words more about our environment. Estonia has more than half of its territory covered by forest, and we take sustainable management of forest very seriously. Estonia meets all European climate goals, had is a priority during presidency, and my government aims for 50% renewable energy target. I also would like to say that Estonia is a nature-loving society. We deeply care about the environment where we are living today and what we leave for our next generation and our children. We are on track with climate policy and energy efficiency goals, and Estonia has already reached the renewable energy goals of 2030. Then, having about the Soviet Union and the EU, I think they are 180 degrees different way. But having lived under the brutal Soviet regime, I strongly reject all comparison with today's and, for that matter, tomorrow's European Union. And maybe once more I agree with Mr. Weber on the importance of level playing field and creating biggest digital market. It is also important that the digital and Europe works for many and not the few, as so well said Mr. Pullman. As a member of Liberal family, can only agree with you, Guy. And I can only tell thanks for all about Sweden. I would like to say thank you to Sweden and Swedish people to support Estonia, to support our fellow Estonians, for example, during the 40s, during the 50s, and of course today as well. I thank you all for your views and comments, and I would like to make some comments at the end of the debate. Thank you once more.
Thank you very much. Now we start with the catch the eye. The first speaker is Mr. Kelam. You have the floor.
Grazie mille, Presidente. Thank you, Prime Minister Ratas. Suur tänu. You have brought us the feeling of Europe.